Okay, we have all been there. You have this real, genuine desire to be more eco-friendly, right? To do your part. But then, well, life happens, and those amazing intentions just fizzle out. It's a super common and, let's be honest, pretty frustrating feeling.
So, what is actually going on here? Why is there this disconnect, this gap between the person we want to be for the planet and the things we actually do day to day? Let's get into it. It's all about these small everyday moments. You're rushing out the door and boom, you forget the reusable cup. You're out and about, can't find a recycling bin, so that bottle ends up in the regular trash. It starts raining, so the bike plan is out the window. Look, these aren't character flaws. This is just human. It happens to all of us. And believe it or not, this exact experience actually has a name. Psychologists call it the intention behavior gap. It's a totally real, well-documented thing that explains why just wanting to do something, even really badly, often isn't enough to make us do it. So let's zoom in on this gap, but specifically through the lens of our environmental goals. Because honestly, this is a huge hurdle when we're trying to build lasting, sustainable habits. And here is the absolute most important takeaway. If you're struggling with this, the problem isn't that you're lazy or that you don't care enough. The research is so clear on this. It has almost nothing to do with willpower. It's that your good intention is missing one critical piece, a solid plan. Which, conveniently, brings us to the solution. And it's this brilliantly simple, yet seriously powerful planning trick designed specifically to close that gap between what you say you'll do and what you actually do. So the fancy scientific term is implementation intentions, but we can just call it an if-then plan. The whole idea is to decide ahead of time exactly how you're going to respond when you hit a very specific situation. This right here is the original formula, straight from the psychologist Peter Galitzer's research. If situation X happens, then I will do Y. I know it sounds almost too simple, but that little structure is the secret sauce. It basically automates your behavior, taking that tricky, in-the-moment decision-making right out of the equation. Let's make this super practical. A vague goal is, I will use my reusable bag, right? We've all said that. But a powerful if-then plan sounds like this. If I am walking to the grocery store, then I will grab my reusable bags from the hook by the door. You see the difference? It's huge. You've identified the trigger, walking to the store, and you've linked it directly to the action. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't just some nice little self-help idea. This is a strategy that is backed by decades, and I mean decades, of solid scientific proof. Actually, everything in this explainer is based on a massive meta-analysis. That's a study of other studies from the journal Sustainable Production and Consumption. Researchers dug through 31 different studies, which covered over 10,000 people, all to figure out just how effective these if-then plans really are for green behaviors. And the results? They were crystal clear. They found an effect size of D equals 0.473. Okay, I know that's just a number, but in the world of psychology, that is a big deal. That's considered a really meaningful, moderate to large effect. It's basically proof that making these simple plans makes it way, way more likely that you'll actually follow through. So, we know it works, but the research also uncovered when it works best. And that brings us to the 3 secrets for crafting a plan that's not just good, but like a super plan. All right, secret number 1, save your planning power for the hard stuff. It turns out if-then plans have the biggest, most dramatic impact on the behaviors that take a little more time, money, or effort. And check out this data. This is so cool. For easy, low-cost things, like remembering to turn off the lights, the plans helped, but just a little. But for the high-cost actions, like having to take your old electronics to a special recycling center, the effect size more than doubled. This just shows that planning is basically a superpower for tackling the things that really feel like a chore. Okay, secret number 2 is that one size fits all, well, it doesn't really fit anyone. The absolute most effective plans are the ones you build for yourself, the ones that are perfectly tailored to your life. So the research found that when people were just given a list of plans to choose from, the effect was way smaller than when they were asked to create their own. And that makes perfect sense, right? Because only you know the specific little things that get in your way, like exactly where your reusable mug is or what time you always rush out the door. And finally, the 3rd secret. The magic is in the format itself. That simple, specific structure is what makes the whole thing work so well. Think about it. A vague goal like,
I'll try to use my car less. Just leaves way too much room for excuses in the moment. But a specific if-then plan, like, if I need to go somewhere less than a mile away, then I will take my bike instead of my car, creates an automatic link in your brain. The situation itself becomes the trigger for the action. No willpower needed.
All right, so you've seen the science, you know the secrets. Now it is absolutely your turn to put this to work. It really is this simple. Just a 3-step process. First, pick one green goal, just one. Second, get really specific about the moment that trips you up. That is your if. And third, decide on the one single specific action you will take. That's your then. That's it.
So, to wrap it all up, here are the keys from this whole explainer. Make your plan personal to your life. Make it so specific. And focus your energy on those tough goals where a simple plan is going to make the absolute biggest difference.
Your good intentions are awesome. They're valuable. They just need a tiny bit of structure to turn into reality. So right now, take a second. Think of one green goal you have. What's the one if-then plan that will finally turn that intention into action this week?